Before Beyoncé was telling you who runs the world, before Alicia was on her keys, and way before every R&B singer decided to whisper through their tracks, there was Karyn White. When she said, "I'm not your Superwoman," she meant it. That anthem wasn't just a hit. It was a whole movement for women who were tired of doing everything while getting nothing in return. A soft voice with powerhouse vocals? Yes.
Don't play with me right now. This is my jam.
A sweet smile with "don't play with me" energy? Double yes. Karyn exploded onto the scene in the late 80s and carved her name into R&B history with hits like Superwoman, The Way You Love Me, and Secret Rendezvous. You couldn't turn on the radio or flip through BET without hearing her voice. She was serving powerhouse vocals, shoulder pads, and real feelings, wrapped in a perfect late 80s beat. And even though she stepped back from the spotlight at her peak, which had the industry very confused, she never lost her shine. Now she's back, grown, unbothered, and still giving. So let's get into it, because Karyn White didn't just make hits, she made statements. Karyn LaVon White was born on October 14th, 1965 in Los Angeles, California. LA in the 60s and 70s had a cultural mix of soul, funk, church, and disco, and Karyn soaked it all up. She was the youngest of 5 children and raised in a music-filled household. Her mom was a church choir director, and you know how that goes. If you grow up in a black church, singing isn't optional, it's required. And Karyn had the pipes early. But she wasn't just a singer, she was the overachiever type. Beauty pageants? Check. Sports? Check. Choirs and school talent shows? Check, check. She trained in acting and performance at the legendary Ebony Showcase Theater, which also launched careers like Earth, Wind and Fire's Maurice White. She seriously wasn't playing around. She was training to be a star. In the early 80s, she got her first big industry gig as a background vocalist for jazz funk musician Jeff Lorber. And as we know, background singers are often real stars in waiting. Karyn didn't wait long. She recorded with Lorber on the 1986 track, Facts of Love, which landed on the Billboard Hot 100. Not bad for a warm-up act. That was the beginning of what would soon become full-on R&B domination. Karyn White didn't tiptoe into the music scene. Oh no, she kicked the door down and said, "I'm here, and I'm not your Superwoman." Honestly, the game was never the same. Her official breakout came in 1988 with the release of her debut album, Karyn White. And when we say the album popped off, we're talking platinum, not silver, not gold, platinum. A big reason for that success was her teaming up with the ultimate hitmakers of late 80s R&B, L.A. Reid, Babyface, and Daryl Simmons. Those guys were printing hits like they worked at a chart factory. And Karyn was their perfect muse. The album gave us bangers like The Way You Love Me, which hit the top 10 on the Billboard Hot 100, and of course, Superwoman, which became an instant classic. That song wasn't just a hit, it was a whole mood. Women were quoting it, playing it during breakups, and possibly using it to pack their man's things.
Sorry.
It was that powerful. Then came Secret Rendezvous, another top-tier bop. Funky, confident, and a little sexy. It showed she wasn't just about lyrics and heartache, she had range. Now you'd think that kind of success might slow down, but nah. In 1991, she dropped her sophomore album, Ritual of Love, this time working with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. Yes, the same duo that gave Janet Jackson her sound. So basically, she had the best producers in the game, 2 albums in a row. That album gave us Romantic, a track so smooth it slid right to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. You couldn't escape it. Radio, TV, malls, cars, everyone was vibing to it whether they wanted to or not, and nobody was complaining. But here's where things get weird. After 2 back-to-back successful albums, Karyn's third release in 1994, Make Him Do Right, kinda came and went. It had some solid tracks, but the promotion? Weak. The label didn't push it the way they pushed the first two, and with the rise of hip-hop and a changing R&B landscape, she started getting edged out of the spotlight. And then, she disappeared. Well, sort of. Karyn didn't fall off, she stepped away. She got married, had a child, and made the decision to focus on motherhood. And you know what? Respect. Not every artist wants to be on tour 24/7 while also raising a kid. Karyn pulled a disappearing act at her peak, and while fans were left confused, she was at peace. But the story doesn't end there. After a long break, Karyn made her comeback in 2012 with the independent album Carpe Diem. It had songs like Sista Sista and Dance Floor. She came back more grown, more self-aware, and more in control of her music. Was it mainstream? But was it authentically Karyn? Absolutely. She also dipped into acting, starring in and producing the indie film Gale in the Storm,
because of our sound.
But still, we need to change with the time.
which mirrored her music journey. That's the thing with Karyn. If she's gonna do something, she's gonna do it her way. No label politics, no fake personas, just raw talent and real stories. She launched her own label, Karyn White Enterprises, and she's been releasing music, doing live shows, and keeping her fans fed ever since. Is she chasing chart hits? She already proved she could do that. Now, she's just out here being a boss. And honestly, we love that for her. Karyn White has never been one to flood the tabloids. In other words, she's got that grown woman business energy, but that hasn't stopped the rumor mill from spinning. You know how people love to pair celebrities up, especially in the 90s? One name that always seems to circle around hers? Al B. Sure. The two were seen together back in the day, and folks just assumed there was more going on. Were they a thing? Were they just industry friends with matching good looks? Karyn never made a big deal about it, which only added to the mystery. Keeping it classy while the internet speculates, that's some iconic behavior right there. Aside from that, her biggest scandal was leaving the industry without warning. Seriously, fans were shook. One minute she's topping charts, the next she's gone. For years, people whispered everything from label drama to secret feuds. But really, she just wanted to be a mom and live life away from the spotlight. No chaos, just priorities. In a business where everyone's chasing clout, Karyn dipped quietly and came back on her own terms. So what was Karyn doing while the world was wondering where she went? Living. In 1991, she married mega producer Terry Lewis.
Wait a minute.
Yes, the Terry Lewis. Talk about a musical power couple. They had a daughter, Ashley, adopted their son Brandon, and for a while, everything looked picture perfect. But by 1999, the couple had quietly divorced. No drama, no public fights, just two people moving on. She later married Bobby Gonzalez, a successful developer and businessman, but that relationship also ended in divorce. Still, Karyn never turned her personal life into a public soap opera. She handled it all with grace, like someone who values peace more than PR headlines. These days, she's living in Sacramento, where she's added even more titles to her name: interior designer, entrepreneur, actress, and of course, still a performer. She's the CEO of Karyn White Enterprises, running things on her terms, whether she's designing homes, releasing music, or showing up at festivals with vocals that still snap. Karyn's proving that the glow-up never stops. She's also been vocal about self-love, personal growth, and not settling for less. In a world full of forced reinventions and reboots, Karyn White is the same powerhouse, just wiser, unbothered, and still in full control. Let's talk about her legacy. Karyn White may not have 20 Grammys, but her impact, solid, cemented, certified R&B royalty. She made history as the first female artist to have the first 3 singles from her debut album hit #1 on the R&B charts. Her voice wasn't just powerful, it helped shape a time when women in R&B stepped out from the background and took center stage, demanding respect, love, and the freedom to be real and trust. The industry took notice. In 1989, she was nominated for an American Music Award for Favorite New Soul R&B Artist and for multiple Soul Train Music Awards, including Best New Artist and Best Female R&B Single. She also grabbed her first Grammy nomination for The Way You Love Me. The following year, she kept the momentum going, landing another Grammy nomination for her hit Superwoman and an American Music Award nomination for Favorite Soul R&B Album for her debut project. Even years later, in 2017, she was still making noise, picking up a UB Honors nomination for Best Independent R&B Album with the Gale and the Storm soundtrack. And what other artists can say they worked with Babyface, L.A. Reid, Jimmy Jam, and Terry Lewis on their first 2 albums? That's a flex you can't buy. At age 59, her estimated net worth is around $4 million. And considering she's running her own show now, from music to film to design, she's doing just fine. Karyn didn't just survive the industry, she mastered the art of stepping away before it could chew her up. That's the real legacy right there. Talent, timing, and total control.